wrap up and just let me also take a minute to publicly again thank Representative Schuring and Senator Peterson and the cooperation of both groups. Also, I want to just take a minute and thank Stephen Alexander personally from my policy staff who really have dived in to get to know the details of this issue and spend a lot of personal time understanding it and also getting involved, so I really appreciate that. Look, I think you've heard this is a big step that's taken almost 2 decades to finally get us to a place that we can make this step, and I am extremely confident, especially with those that are at the table that have great honor and integrity, that we can get to a solution and that we will get to it. So at this time, I'd be glad to take some questions or defer some of these questions to some of these folks.
Could you explain how much teeth the actuary process is going to have? If a proposal is not politically palatable today, is it going to be more palatable once an actuary backs it?
Well, first off, let me answer your question about political palatability. I don't think that that's the issue that's happening right here. The issue that's happening right here is that everybody cares that we get to a position that the state of Ohio is secure into the future. And that's regardless of where we are as Republicans or Democrats, House or Senate. I had a great conversation with Leader Strayhorn last night, and again, and let me also say this: we are on a pathway to solvency, but also there has to be a fair and balanced approach. I think Mark Topman said it the best. This is there's no labor if there's not the businesses. There's no business if there's no labor. So. This has to be a fair, balanced approach. That's what we need to strike. I think that the work in 620 was good, but again, here you go. You have the numbers coming out that look maybe that it wasn't so good. So we needed some more time to have some conversations. I don't want to get into the details. I don't think we want to get into the details of specifics of what we think we can work on, because quite frankly, we need some actuarials to be in the room to probably tell us what those numbers are. I defer to Representative Schuring or anybody else.
And just to not get into the details, but one of the things that we negotiated over the weekend that we looked at was a supplemental fund. Again, not going to get into the details, but that would help augment benefits from the standard package, be separate and apart from the unemployment fund, and to understand how that works, we're going to need actually.
What happens if there's not an agreement by April?
Well, I think there will be. I think you see that there's two. I think, look, at the end of the day, folks understand that we have to work together to get to a solvency issue. And I can tell you, I've been in the room for the last, I don't know how many days now, 5 days, 6 days, I don't know how many days it's been, and telephone calls and hour upon hour. I mean, I really got to tell you, you want to see how things should work, you should have watched the process here over the last few days, because they've given up of their time. Matt had a basketball game that he had to try to get to for his son. We said, hey, look, let's take a break. He went to the basketball game. We went right back to work, and that ended up in late evening hours, I think, if I remember right. Poor Mark was shopping to get something done for his daughter. We had, he came in still and did things. Same thing with business groups. So, we're going to still continue to have conversations and continue to move the ball forward and have a lot more, labor and business moving back and forth to try to get to a negotiating point. And I'm pretty confident that we'll get there by April 1st.
Will the provisions stay in place that you just outlined, those provisions stay in place past April, or they're just still April?
Well, those provisions, so both the 2-year freeze on the benefit freeze and I'm sorry if that wasn't made clear. It's a 2-year benefit freeze, and the increase in the wage base from current law at $9,000 to $9,500 is also for 2 years. That would effectively start in 2018 and go to 2019. So the premise here is if we make this compromise occur by April 1st, that of course will all go away.
How close does this bring the plan to solvency, this stopgap?
Well, this stopgap's not going to bring us to any closer solvency than we are now. So the premise, though, is that both sides are giving a little, starting the negotiations. It's what you got to do, and now we're moving forward so that we can get to a compromise solution on solvency. I mean, House Bill 620 only got us to That was gonna take 7 years to solvency. You know, another compromise we talked about was 9 years to solvency. So, I mean, we gotta still sit down at the table with the Senate and administration. We envision a process that includes both sides and the administration so that we're all still continuing to talk to get there.
So are these concessions then gonna just be, are they just a concession of good faith on each side, or, I mean, is that really what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a concession on both sides to say, look, we want to trust each other, we're going to work together, and here is a shot across the bow to show that we're ready to do this, and we're both willing to take a little. Look, make no mistake, at the end of the day, for both sides, labor and business, it's not going to be an easy decision. This is not going to be, both sides are going to have to feel a little bit here when we make if we're getting to a solvency plan. And they both realize that, and I think that's what their commitment is, to show that they're willing to do.
Do you anticipate that the actuary will study the idea of state bonding? Is that one of the things that?
There's many different components to solvency, and one of the components, as we said in the uncodified section of House Bill 620, was to pursue a constitutional amendment establishing a unemployment bond fund. So I don't know if that needs actuarial analysis, but if it does, we'll look into that.
What was the problem with 620? Why was that not a good solution?
I would just tell you that with 620, as I looked at it and as we negotiated for those many days, it basically came down to the weeks of eligibility and dependency benefit. I mean, there was probably more, but those were the two core issues that we kept on struggling with.
Did the fiscal note from the LSC, did that play a big role in sort of switching minds?
I don't think so, because I would just tell you that, LSC did a great job, but 620 was a solvency plan to get us to solvency in 8 years. When you start extrapolating numbers past that, it looks different. I'm not sure that those numbers were really reflective of the equal balance we had in 620. Again, we're trying to, find something, but, when you start getting past the solvency years, there's dynamics that can change the way the numbers look, and that's what you saw in that analysis.
Given that the weeks were such an issue in 620, do you anticipate a reduction in the plan that you're looking for by April?
No, and I'm not going to get into the details, but that's that supplemental plan that we talked about, that we spent a lot of time over the last few days talking about, where you can have a basic package, and then under the supplemental plan, separate and apart from the unemployment fund, you could augment benefits through the supplemental fund.
Will the state be involved in hiring the actuary? Is that just going to be done behind the scenes?
I think it will be done privately, since it's going to be underwritten by both businesses.
Will employee fees or taxes be on the table? And I'd like Tim, if possible,
Look,
to
guys,
respond.
everything's going to be on the table. And I'm not, Representative Schuring's talking about the supplemental fund. We don't know, but it's one of the conversations that are happening. And I don't want to get into detail, but there's nothing off the table. We're starting a negotiation again, and April 1st is where the only thing that's going to be constant is, in that negotiation, is that we have to find the pathway to solvency, period. There's nothing off the table. Conversation's going to continue to happen. Weeks, whether it's a issue on dependency or whether it's an issue on this supplemental fund, so everything's going to be on the table.
This current freeze, is the Senate on board with what you're proposing here today?
We've talked to the Senate. I think both sides have also had an opportunity to talk with the Senate. And to give credit where credit due, Senator Randy Gardner did a lot of effort and help into this, so I would anticipate the Senate will be very favorable to this.
So do you have any concerns about like a recession catching you guys before you even get this fixed?
Well, yeah, that's why we've been focused on this for 2 years. It's a very big concern, and that's something that we want to continue to do. That's why I think we have a deadline of April 1st, which is a pretty quick deadline, which I appreciate both labor and business to say, hey, they're willing to come to the table, kicking off from here. And look, at the end of the day, we don't want to pass something that we can't get everybody on board with. I mean, it's just not going to make a lot of sense, because we have to work, because both sides are going to have skin in the game to make this work to get to solvency. And so we are very concerned with it, but I think that's why you see us here today saying, hey, look, rumors are not true. This is not over. I think Mark Topman said something very clear too, and that is, and there's no war between business and business. And we got to be very careful in that. This is a good conversation, another good step effort. This is the farthest we've come, with all due respect, in the last few days to getting somewhere than we have over the last 2 years. So I'm very confident in where we're headed.
What's a reasonable parameter for reaching solvency? 8 years, 2 years, 20 years?
Well, I mean, if I had my druthers, I would definitely be within a 10-year mark. Like I said, 620 got us at least to 7, but I'd hope to stay in that area. But I'm not going to, dive into it because, again, we can't answer questions because we don't know yet where we can give and take and what that's going to look like, and then the actuarials will play a big part in telling us how that moves the ball down the field.
Did you have the votes for 620 if you'd brought it to the floor?
Oh, yes, I do think we would have votes for 620. I think we would have votes also for another plan that we were kind of talking about. But at the end of the day, again, this is not about 620 anymore. It's about putting forward continuing with this really good conversation that we've been able to have for the last 4 or 5 days.
Do you know how much the actuary study is going to cost?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Are you gonna replace 620 with this 2-year benefits, taxable wages thing? Just
No.
like wipe,
Mechanically,
how you do it?
We're going to prepare, amendment's been prepared that will only address 3 things: 390 penalties, the 9,000 and 9,500, and the 2-year freeze, all again starting in 2018. And that will go into Senate Bill 235.
Are you permanently removing the 390 penalties, or is it just
Yes.
until the next bill?
Any other questions? Okay, again, thank everybody for being here and participating. Appreciate your time this morning.